requested a little video on the cycles. So we're going to start with the nitrogen cycle here. So nitrogen comes in different forms. One of the ways we know nitrogen to be found is as a gas. So nitrogen gas is in the air. It's in a great proportion to the other gases. There's actually a huge amount of it, but it is absolutely useless to animals and plants in this form. So this gas form is not useful, but it is in high quantity. So what has to happen in order for it to become useful is it has to be fixed. And this word fixed just simply means put into a useful form. So the nitrogen is fixed into different forms. Now we may talk about it as in ammonia. We may talk about it in ammonium. We may talk about it as a nitrite or as a nitrate. Okay, so these are different ions or different molecules that nitrogen can be found in. Now, once these are fixed into this form, they then can be made into things like proteins, right? So proteins have a nitrogen group or a group with nitrogen in it. They might be made into DNA or RNA, which are a category of molecules called nucleic acids. And so those forms then are going to obviously be in living things. And so as they die, they then can be moved back into the cycle. And again, the whole point of biogeochemical cycles is to understand that matter cycles on Earth, right? So all the matter that was ever here is still here, and it just continues to find its new home as it moves through the cycles. Energy flows, right? And so we've looked at energy in our previous unit. And so now we're looking at the biogeochemical matter. All right, so taking a look at how nitrogen is fixed. So here is the atmospheric nitrogen up here as a gas floating around in the air. Now, as it is fixed, it's going to happen a couple of ways. One of them is lightning. So lightning can actually use the energy from that to fix the nitrogen. But the other main way is through these nitrogen fixing bacteria. And bacteria, as you can see, have a huge role in the nitrogen cycle. Okay, so they are going to actually be found in these little nodules in the legumes of certain plants, which is why sometimes we rotate different crops in as farmers to try to get more nitrogen nutrients into the soil. And so this nitrogen fixing bacteria is basically taking that useless diatomic nitrogen gas and turning it into new useful forms. So here you can see it's being converted into ammonium. Now, this is also happening through the decomposers. As they take the dead plants and animals, they are also decomposing those organic proteins and DNA, RNA molecules and moving them or converting them into ammonium. So this process is called ammonification. So just this idea of producing ammonium. So we just now have a useful form of that in the soil. Now, there's another type of bacteria that are then going to convert it into the ite, the nitrite. So 2I, right? The I in nitrite, and then the 2 in the NO2 negative. So that is going to help us to see that we can convert it again into a different form. And then more nitrifying bacteria, you see them here, are going to convert it into a nitrate. So this is the A3, the A in nitrate, and the 3 in NO3, again, converting it into a different useful form. Now, these can be assimilated into the plant. Assimilation just means that they use this useful form of nitrogen and actually build their proteins with it, build their DNA with it. And so that's going to be the assimilation. And then as the plants are eaten by the animals, that's also going to pass that nitrogen on. And as they die, as we just talked about, those decomposers will return it into that ammonium. Now, a last piece here is that these useful forms that all of these bacteria have worked to create can also have a bacteria that undoes all that hard work. These are called denitrifying. Denitrifying, basically removing that nitrogen from the useful form and putting it back into the environment. And in fact, this is why we aerate our lawns sometimes, is to prevent these denitrifying bacteria because they actually work better without oxygen. So if we aerate and create lots of oxygen, sometimes the denitrifying bacteria will be less effective. And so we'll convert less nitrogen back into the atmospheric portion and keep it in the soil. So sometimes you'll see people do that to their lawns. So that is the nitrogen cycle.